you like this one.
Okay.
Not that you don't like all of them.
Some more than others.
This is from George. What is a familiar?
A familiar is a huge misunderstanding in the craft. People think it means, oh,
I'm sorry.
it's actually not part of what I consider proper craft. Well, let's look at what people think it is. People think it's this animal that you live with, that's really close to you, that's very familiar to you, and it helps you with magic, and it's there to protect you, and yada, yada, yada. What it actually comes from is from the burning times, from the witch trials, where animals were considered, well, animals that were close to what even were considered witches, and remember, a lot of those people were not witches. The majority of those people were not witches. Those animals close to them were considered magical demons, if you will, or what the witch changed into when they weren't in human form so they could escape. A lot of misconception about that, and as a result, a lot of cats died. A lot of cats went into the fire too, which...
No wonder they had the plague.
Exactly, because who was there to kill the rats? There's a balance in nature, and boy, did they pay for that. Don't screw with my cats is one of the witches' read. After the witches' read, don't screw with my cats. The other part of it that I think is really unexpected, and maybe unexpected to people listening to this, is that once you really consider an animal a familiar, they take a lot of your karma for you. They take the psychic and magical hits that may be directed at you, which, you know, if you're a solitary, may not be that big of a deal, but in a witch war situation, it's horrible. I don't want my cat, my beautiful Binks, I don't want him taking my magical hits, because you've so linked yourself with that being. Now again, we're all one, so where does the familiarization stop? This chair is my familiar, this tree is my familiar. Nothing wrong with having companions along the way, animal, vegetable, and mineral. But I think if you really do the research, it's not something that is inherently in the craft. And it's not something that I support. I don't have familiars in that way. I have friends.
But there are some who do.
And I say, do your research. Really find out where that comes from, because it was actually used as a justification for the torture of what we call innocent animals. That, oh, the witch, I see her with that blackbird circles her house 3 times every morning. Kill the bird. That's guilt by association. Meanwhile, the bird can be just like, no, they had some nice heather growing around the house. I was looking for a place to land. So just be careful with that kind of thing, because do you really want a beloved animal? See, in my family, that we don't even consider them animals. They're members of the family.
And ours as well.
We have 2 Labradoodles. They're my mom's dogs. They're my brother and sister. They're really. My mom
There
will
is
say,
a resemblance to the hair, you know.
my mom will call me up. She said,
Naturally.
can you keep an eye on your brother? And it takes me a minute. I go, Matthew's up in Connecticut. Oh, you mean the dog? You mean little Max? Yes, I can keep an eye on the dog. And that's great. That's all love-based. But understand there is a fear connection there that people don't always see. And I say, be aware. Be aware of really what the term familiar implies. Because a witch doesn't need a familiar that way. But friends, certainly.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.